Welcome to World Insight. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon for more breaking updates. Global commerce has come to a screeching halt. 7 major ports have blocked U.S. shipments, triggering a crisis that's shaking the foundations of our interconnected world. Colossal container ships sit idle, mountains of goods stranded on the docks, life-saving medicines, electronics, food, all stuck in limbo. This isn't just a logistical nightmare, it's a declaration that the old order of trade is broken. The ripple effects are immediate, threatening businesses, economies, and households everywhere. Why has this happened? Who's behind it? And what does it mean for all of us? The supply chains we depend on are unraveling before our eyes. This is how global trade chaos begins. It started at the Port of Los Angeles, America's gateway to Asia and a linchpin of U.S. trade. Today the cranes are frozen, the docks silent, and dozens of ships are anchored offshore, their cargoes spoiling and businesses losing hope. The port's closure is more than a delay. It's a chokehold on the West Coast, paralyzing logistics, retailers and manufacturers. Thousands of trucks sit idle, warehouses overflow or stand empty, and the economic shockwave is radiating outward. Manufacturing hubs in Asia are now in crisis, with production lines slowing and workers laid off. The Port of Los Angeles was the first domino, showing how a single point of failure can disrupt economies across continents. Every unmoved container is a broken promise, a delivery missed, a factory line stopped, a product missing from shelves. The cost is measured in billions, but the real damage is to trust and certainty. Businesses can't plan, consumers can't buy, and the system is paralyzed. The port's closure isn't just about logistics, it's about the very principles of global trade being challenged. The silence here signals the start of a much larger storm. The world is watching and the consequences are only beginning to unfold. The West Coast's main artery is clogged and the pain is spreading fast. The crisis at Los Angeles is just the beginning. Next, the Port of Long Beach joined the blockade, amplifying the crisis. Together with Los Angeles, these ports form the largest complex in the Western Hemisphere, now sealed shut. Shipping costs skyrocketed overnight as carriers scrambled to reroute vessels, overwhelming smaller ports in Mexico, Canada, and along the U.S. coast. The system was never built for this kind of shock. Businesses with contingency plans found themselves trapped, and the cost of shipping a single container soared. Consumers will pay the price as inflation hits everything from furniture to electronics. Meanwhile, idling ships off California's coast are creating an environmental disaster, burning fuel and releasing emissions. The blockade at Long Beach didn't just stop trade, it sowed chaos throughout the global shipping network. The West Coast was closed for business, and the world felt the numbness spread. The strain on the supply chain is now a gaping chasm. The message is clear. The U.S. is being economically isolated. The ripple effects are just starting to wash over the country. The crisis is escalating. As the West Coast reeled, the Port of New York and New Jersey joined the blockade, turning a regional disruption into a national crisis. The U.S. was now isolated from the global economy, with its largest ports on both coasts silent. European goods, luxury cars, pharmaceuticals, machinery stopped flowing in, and American exports were stranded. Financial markets in Europe trembled, and emergency meetings were called. Ships diverted to Canadian ports, which quickly became overwhelmed. The port's closure created a vacuum, stalling the regional economy and threatening millions of jobs. Everyday goods, from cheeses to auto parts, began to disappear from shelves. The blockade now threatened the supply of critical medical equipment and pharmaceuticals. The strategy was clear: maximum pressure by strangling America's commercial arteries. The chaos was only beginning to escalate. The disruption swept south to the Port of Savannah, a vital hub for the Southeast's economy. Its closure cut off farmers from international markets, leaving perishable goods stranded and livelihoods in jeopardy. Major factories and retailers faced shutdowns as parts and materials stopped arriving. The port's efficient operations were no match for a coordinated blockade. The economic ecosystem, warehouses, trucking, logistics, was thrown into turmoil. Goods stuck in Savannah meant shortages deep into the Midwest. The closure showed no region was safe. The crisis was nationwide. The Southern economy, once resilient, was now under unprecedented strain. The effects of the blockade were permeating every aspect of American life. The foundations of prosperity were cracking. The blockade struck the Gulf Coast, ensnaring the Port of Houston, the jugular of America's energy and petrochemical industries. As a leading exporter of oil and gas, Houston's shutdown sent global energy prices soaring and threatened shortages abroad. The port's closure forced refineries and chemical plants to slash production, putting tens of thousands of jobs at risk. The economic engine of Texas sputtered, threatening to stall completely. The global manufacturing supply chain was now in jeopardy, as factories worldwide rely on Houston's exports. The message was chilling. This crisis could disrupt not just consumer goods, but the very inputs of the global industrial economy. The blockade at Houston was a chokehold on the world's energy and manufacturing lifeline. The impact was immediate and global. The Gulf Coast prosperity was on the line. The world watched as the crisis deepened. The blockade tightened on the Pacific Northwest as Seattle and Tacoma joined the shutdown. Washington's agricultural exports, apples, cherries, were left to rot, devastating farmers. Boeing and other manufacturers faced halted production as critical components stopped arriving. Retailers braced for empty shelves as imports from Asia were cut off. The closure also severed Alaska's lifeline, threatening shortages of food and medicine. The region's innovation-driven economy was suddenly at risk. The paralysis in the Pacific Northwest compounded the national crisis. No corner of the country was spared. The economic pain was spreading fast. The final blow came with the closure of the Port of Oakland, completing the encirclement of U.S. maritime commerce. California's agricultural exports, almonds, wine, produce, were trapped, threatening entire communities. The tech sector's supply chain was disrupted, halting the flow of hardware and components. The entire Pacific coast was now sealed off from global trade. Thousands of jobs vanished overnight, deepening hardship in the Bay Area. The once bustling port became a silent symbol of crisis. With Oakland's closure, the blockade was complete. 7 major ports, 3 coasts, America was economically isolated. The world faced a new reality. Global supply chains could be brought to a standstill. The chaos was no longer beginning. It was here. 7 major ports, one unprecedented crisis. Global trade has been brought to its knees. The silence on the docks echoes in boardrooms, factories, and homes worldwide. This isn't just about higher prices or shortages, it's about the collapse of trust in the global supply chain. The long-term implications are staggering: protectionism, economic realignment, and a fractured world order. Governments scramble, markets tumble, and citizens demand answers. The dominoes have fallen, and the chaos is spreading. The world now faces a defining question: how will we respond to this disruption? Will we rebuild, or retreat into a new age of uncertainty?